Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Good. Welcome to another week of the Empowerment Climb. I'm Dr. Lacey at drlacey.com, and this is another chance for us to get it right, another chance for us to grow and glow together, and another chance for us to be empowered. I am so excited that you would take the time to invest in yourself by joining me on this morning. And on today, it's now February, it's a brand new month, and we are talking all about love. Yep, who's looking for love, right? Who's wanting more love in your life? Oh, well, I got a tip for you. The best way to have more love in your life is to start with yourself. The best way to have more love in your life is to start with yourself. And all this month, we'll be talking about the topic of self-care. What is it? How do I do it? What's a way to get started? And self-care specifically for leaders. So, as you know, as leaders, we often are on the go with little to no time to tend to ourselves, right? We are not only putting out fires at work, we're putting out fires at home, we're putting out fires in our community, but in the midst of all of that, sometimes we might be starting a few fires too, right? And so because we're in full mode of moving from day to day, we sometimes can forget to take the time to take care of ourselves. We sometimes can forget to slow down and practice self-care, because this is what it's all about. To have more love in your life, you want to start with yourself and start with self-care. So what is self-care? You might be thinking to yourself, some people have heard that before. It's definitely all the buzz, but you may not be really familiar with it, or you may not feel comfortable with it. You may be thinking to yourself, yeah, I've heard self-care, but what is it exactly, Dr. Lacey? Well, one definition says it best like this. It's an activity. It's something that's completed intentionally, and that's the key word. You must be intentional in order to take care of your mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual health. Those are the four categories: your mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual health. And so if you're taking care of one of those four areas intentionally, you are practicing self-care. So as a leader or an aspiring leader, it is vital that we take the time to take care of ourselves, partly because we have so many people who are depending on us, so many people that are looking to us, but also because it's just the right thing to do. And so when practiced effectively, good self-care is key to an improved mood. It's key to reducing anxiety, and it's also vital to good relationships, as well as a way to practice self-care in your interaction with groups around you, and definitely at work, because when it's said and done, it's really important as leaders and aspiring leaders that we're taken care of so that we know how to take care of our teams. Good morning. I see someone is joining me on Instagram. So good morning. I'm so glad that you're here this morning. And we are talking about, again, self-care. How to take care of ourselves, what is self-care, and how to get started. So here are 3 steps to help you to better understand self-care, because all this month we're talking about love, how to have more love in our life, and how that love starts with us. All right, so step number 1, keep it simple. Now, I'm not going to add the second part of that, the KISS, but simply keep it simple. It's time for you to develop a self-care routine. If you don't have a self-care routine, this is your chance to get started with one, right? And so a self-care routine is when we actually when we get going with it, it can actually evolve into a rhythm. So for example, if you know every Tuesday I have my yoga class that I go to, right? That might be your rhythm. Every Wednesday I have my kickboxing class. Every Wednesday I get my nails done. Whatever it might be, you wind up getting into a rhythm. The key to keep in mind that as time continues, you will find self-care is an idea that works for you. It allows you to best operate, and when you don't have it, you actually will miss it. So think of it as that mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual form that needs attention. What in your life needs attention? Is your spiritual life lacking? Do you need to pray more? Do you need to find yourself in a house of worship? Is it perhaps your, physical life? We talked about getting out and exercising. Is it your mental health? Do you need to journal? Do you need a mental health day? Because the folks are just, wearing you down. All of those things is where you can start to think, how can I keep All right. Step number 2, planning makes perfect. Now, I use the word perfect very gingerly because I don't want anyone to feel as though they're having to be almost legalized, right? But instead, think of it as a process. So planning makes process. So if you are going from process to practice, that means you are in the step of figuring things out, of making it work for you, right? So it's important to remember that the objective, when it's all said and done, is to be intentional. That's the key difference with self-care versus other forms, right? It's being intentional. And as a leader, you have to think of your daily schedule. I don't know about you, but if it's not on my calendar, it does not exist. And so the same goes with my self-care. I literally schedule my self-care appointments. For example, going to the gym, I have to put it on my calendar. Not only is it a way for me to hold that time slot, but it also holds me accountable to my goals of what I'm trying to achieve, right? So create an active choice for yourself by adding it to your calendar, announcing it to others around your office. Hey, today I'm going to be eating more healthy today, so I'm giving up chocolate, right? Or I'm trying to drink less sodas. Let people around you know so that they can help you in your goals to practice self-care. All right. And then you may also want to think about, how can I increase this commitment when it comes to my work environment? What can I do to practice self-care in my work environment? Is it taking a block of time just to complete your email so that you can focus your mental health? Is it getting a standing desk instead of just a seated desk so that you can help with your physical self-care? Is it taking those 10-minute walking breaks so that you have a chance to kind of clear your mind and refocus? That again is coupling your spiritual care, your physical care. Is it taking time to count to 10 before confronting that colleague or employee so that you can also take into account someone else's emotional care too? So in other words, look for opportunities to practice, because we go from process to practice. So step number 2, again, was planning makes process so that we can get to practice. Now, this is our final step. Step number 3, again, we're all talking about self-care today. We're talking about more love, and we're talking about getting more love by starting with ourselves. So how can you make it count? Step number 3 is to make it count. Plain and simple. You must see self-care as self-care, right? You must see it as self-care. You must see it as opportunity. And if you don't see it as self-care, as an opportunity, that this is a chance to treat yourself, this is a chance to take care of yourself, nobody else will. So in other words, you have to almost trick your mind. If you start to tell your mind that this is something that's important, this is something that's valued for me, then your mind will look forward to it. You want to be aware of what you do. You want to be aware of why you do it. And you want to be aware, most of all, of how it makes you feel. Again, you're reprogramming that mind. As you know, my background is in leadership with professional practice with an emphasis in neuroscience. So I'm always looking at, what does the brain research says and what does it tell me and how to take care of myself, right? So in this particular case, I'm rewiring my brain. I'm rewiring my brain to make it count, which is step number 3, to be aware of what I do, to be aware of why I do it, and to be aware of how it makes me feel. Because if I'm aware of all of those things, it allows for the outcomes to come, and it allows for me to embrace those outcomes. All right. So again, real quick, to go back and recap our 3 steps, because we're talking about self-care, how to have more love, and how to begin. And we begin with self-care. So step number 1, first and foremost, is to keep it simple. Step number 2 is planning makes process. And step number 3 is to make it count. Invest in yourself. So what does the research say, Dr. Lacey? Well, according to Michelle Sager, who's the director of the Sport, Health, and Activity Research Policy Center, also known as SHARP, at the University of Michigan, she offered this modified view of self-care. Dr. Sager says this: sustainable that's the key word, sustainable self-care is not really about hitting a specific mark. It's about learning to negotiate with life's ebbs and flows. We know that life is not just a straight line, right? It's circuitous. And because that is the case, it's about learning to negotiate life's ebbs and flows so you can keep moving, keep getting enough sleep, keep getting enough time for yourself. That's really what self-care is about. So do you think that's something you're able to do today? Do you think that's a process that you can go, that can become a practice for you? Do you think that'll help you find more love by starting with yourself? At this time of the year, everyone is excited for Valentine's Day that's coming. They're looking for more love, but what they fail to realize is that the love begins with them. And when you have more love for yourself, it's only going to make you a better person and a better leader. So from the classroom to the boardroom, here is one way that you can start to apply it today. First and foremost, it's important to remember that self-care is not something we force ourselves to do, like, oh, I've got to do it. If I don't do it today, I didn't practice self-care. Absolutely not. It's also not, it's more so, it's something that we enjoy. It's something that we should be looking forward to. So if yoga is not your thing, then don't add that to your self-care list and don't make someone else force you to do so, because this is what you need to do to practice self-care. Absolutely not. For me personally, I love kickboxing. So that might be my self-care, right? Self-care is something that's going to refuel you. Remember, this is from the classroom to the boardroom. It's going to refuel you rather than take from us. And as you know, and I always say, an empty vessel cannot pour out. So when we are refueled, we're able to pour into others. So here's a little tip to get you started. Here's something that you can do today. Fill in the blank. Without blank, my day is not likely to be golden. Without blank, my day is not likely to be golden. Type it in the chat for me. What is your blank, right? Is it without kickboxing, my day will not be golden? Without my coffee, my day will not be golden. Without my morning walk, my day will not be golden. Without playing with my puppy, my day will not be golden. What is it? What is it? Think about your mental, your physical, your emotional, your spiritual self-care. Without my prayer in the morning, my meditation, without my weekly or daily journaling, my day will not be golden. Whatever that is for you, write it down in the chat for me. You might inspire somebody else. So here's your point to practice. And as you know, it is February, and February is Black History Month. Yes, and I am so excited. I don't know about you, but I'm excited about Black Panther's out now too. I can't wait. I feel like it's not only Black History Month, it's like Black Panther Month too. So I am so excited about that. And because it is Black History Month, all of our points to practice will be coming from African American historians, leaders, you name them. It's going to be a person that reflects me. So I am so excited to share today's point to practice. Comes from Maya Angelou, who's an American poet and civil rights activist. Who doesn't know Maya Angelou, right? But did you know she has published 7 autobiographies, 3 books of essays, several books of poetry, and was credited with a list of plays, movies, and television shows spanning for 50 years. Wow, talk about a legacy, right? So here's what Miss Angelou has to say. And this is in honor of her spirit. As you know, she passed away in 2014. And she simply reminds us that we delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty. Again, we delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty. Wow. Are you willing to go through the changes it's going to take to achieve the beauty you're going for? Are you willing to go from process to practice? Are you willing to take the time to continue to invest in yourself? That's what you have to ask yourself today. That's what you have to ask yourself, and I'll be asking you all month long as we look to talk about self-care. I am so excited that you would take the time to join me on this morning. I want to say congratulations to you for taking the time to invest in yourself by watching this week's Empowerment Climb. Is there another lady leader that you know who could benefit from this message? Please, I invite you to like, share, and, invite someone else to follow along, because this climb is important and this climb is needed for all of us. If you haven't done so, I also want to invite you to please like, share, and follow me across social media platforms, as well as on my YouTube channel. And as always, what I always say, from process to practice, grab your stilettos and let's go.